Captain Lee Haon wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the readings on his scanner. The alien planet Kepler 44b was hotter than Earth, and the air felt thick in his lungs. 3 months had passed since his research team landed on this strange world, and every day brought new discoveries. The crystal trees around their camp sparkled like diamonds in the red sunlight, and the ground beneath their feet hummed with energy from underground mineral deposits. Kim Nari was collecting samples near the edge of their camp when she suddenly froze. Her hand stopped moving and her face went pale. She stared into the crystal forest beyond their perimeter fence. Something was watching them from between the glowing trees. Hien noticed her strange behavior and walked over to where she stood. His boots crunched on the metallic sand that covered most of the planet's surface. The sound echoed strangely in the thin air, making it seem louder than it should be. "What is it, Nari?" he asked. Keeping his voice low and calm, she pointed with a shaking finger toward the tree line. There in the shadows between the crystal formations stood 7 massive figures. They were tall, much taller than any human, and their bodies were covered in dark scales that reflected the red sunlight like polished metal. Their eyes glowed yellow in the dim light, and their long arms ended in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through steel. The creatures stood perfectly still, watching the human camp with the patience of natural-born hunters. They had been there for who knows how long, studying the humans, learning their daily routines, and waiting for the right moment to strike. Engineer Park Jun was working on the communication array when he noticed the tension in his teammates' voices. He looked up from his tools and saw the alien figures standing at the forest edge. His first instinct was to run back to their shuttle, but something about the way the creatures stood made him think they were not planning to attack immediately. These beings were hunters, he realized, and hunters like to play with their prey before making the kill. Ocean, the team's cultural specialist, was inside the main research tent when she heard the commotion outside. She grabbed her recording equipment and stepped out to see what was happening. When she saw the alien figures, her scientist mind immediately began cataloging details about their appearance and behavior. The aliens were clearly intelligent. She could tell by the way they positioned themselves in a formation that gave them the best view of the human camp while also providing multiple escape routes if needed. Their posture showed confidence but also caution. They were studying the humans just as much as the humans were studying them. Slowly, the alien figures began to move forward. They walked with a fluid grace that reminded Hune of big cats stalking prey. Their movements were coordinated like a military unit that had worked together for many years. Each step was calculated and purposeful. As they got closer, Hayen could see more details about their alien anatomy. Their heads were elongated with ridges above their eyes that probably protected them from the harsh sunlight of their world. Their mouths were filled with sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh, and their hands had 4 fingers, each ending in razor sharp claws. The largest of the aliens stepped forward from the group. He was clearly the leader based on the way the others deferred to him. His scales were darker than the rest and covered in scars that told stories of many battles. His yellow eyes fixed on Hayon with an intelligence that was both impressive and terrifying. "We have been watching you, small flesh creatures," the alien leader said in surprisingly clear English, though his voice had a hissing quality that made the words sound threatening. "Your kind moves through our sacred hunting grounds like lost prey animals. You make noise when you should be silent. You smell of fear when you should smell of strength." Hayen felt his heart rate increase but forced himself to remain calm. These aliens had been studying his team for days, maybe weeks. They knew human behavior patterns and had probably learned their language by listening to radio communications. The fact that they could speak English meant they were far more intelligent than simple predators. "You are trespassing on lands blessed by the blood of great hunts," the alien continued. "Your soft bodies and weak claws mark you as prey creatures, yet you use strange tools and flying machines. This confuses us. Are you predators or prey?" The other aliens spread out slightly, creating a semicircle around the humans. It was a classic hunting formation, designed to prevent escape while giving each hunter a clear line of attack. Their movements were so smooth and coordinated that it was almost like watching a deadly dance. Kim Nari stepped closer to Hayon, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "Captain, look at their physical adaptations," she whispered. "Those claws are perfect for climbing and slashing. Their leg muscles suggest incredible jumping ability and speed, and those eyes are designed for hunting in low-light conditions." June slowly reached for the emergency beacon that would signal their shuttle to prepare for immediate evacuation, but Hayon shook his head slightly. The movement was small, but the alien leader noticed it immediately, proving that these creatures had excellent eyesight and were constantly analyzing human behavior. "You lead this small pack," the alien leader said, looking directly at Hayon. "We are called Valkyrie, and we are the greatest hunters on this world. Every creature that walks, runs, or flies on this planet knows to fear us, yet you strange beings show no proper respect for the natural order." The alien leader took another step forward, and Hayon could smell something like cinnamon and sulfur coming from the creature's skin. It was not entirely unpleasant, but it was definitely alien and reminded him that these beings came from a completely different evolutionary path than humans. "I am Vexmore, keeper of the sacred hunting grounds and leader of this pack," the alien announced. "Your kind has been walking through lands where only the strongest predators are allowed to hunt. You have disturbed the natural balance with your presence. Ocean was frantically taking notes and recordings. She realized this was first contact with an intelligent, alien species, and every word could be historically important. The Valkyrie seemed to have a complex, social structure based on hunting prowess and territorial control. We did not know these were sacred lands. Hune replied carefully, we came here to study and learn about your world. We mean no disrespect to your customs or your people. Thexma made a sound that might have been laughter, but it came out as more of a growling hiss. Study and learn. He repeated, those are the words of prey creatures, trying to understand their predators before they die. Your kind looks soft and weak. Your tools are clever, but your bodies are fragile. Other Valkyrie began making low rumbling sounds that seemed to be some form of communication among pack members. They were clearly discussing something, and based on their body language it probably involved the humans' faith. We have decided, Dexmore announced. Your pack will participate in the Valkyrie ritual of proving. You will be given the chance to show whether you are truly predators worthy of respect or simply clever prey animals that need to be removed from our hunting grounds. What does this ritual involve? Hayan asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. The Valkyrie way is simple, Dexmore replied. A hunt between leaders, pack against pack, predator against predator. The winners claim the territory and the losers become food for the victors. The alien leader smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth that gleamed in the red sunlight. It was not a friendly expression. The dawn sky on Kepler 44 to be painted everything in shades of deep red and orange as Captain Li Hyun prepared for the ritual hunt. He had spent the entire night thinking about the challenge from Vexmore and the Valkyrie pack. His team tried to convince him to refuse the hunt and return to their shuttle, but Hayan knew that running would only make the aliens chase them across the entire planet. Dr. Kimnari handed him a small medical kit and a portable scanner. These might help, she said with worry. In her voice, the scanner can detect biological changes and the medical kit has basic supplies for treating wounds. Hayan took the items and clipped them to his belt. He wore his standard research uniform, which offered little protection against alien claws, but he did not want to appear too prepared for battle. The Valkyrie was studying his every move, and he needed them to continue thinking of humans as weak. Prey engineer Park Jun approached with a communication device. Captain, this will let us stay in contact during the hunt. If something goes wrong, we can call for extraction from the shuttle. Hayan shook his head and handed the device back. No communication, he said quietly. The Valkyrie expect a pure hunt between leaders. If I use technology, they will consider it cheating and attack the entire team. Dear Ocean was recording everything with her equipment. She had been studying Valkyrie behavior all night and noticed several important patterns. The aliens showed respect for individual combat and seemed to have strict rules about their hunting rituals. Breaking these rules would likely result in immediate violence. The Valkyrie pack emerged from the crystal forest as the sun reached its highest point. Vexmore led the group with his scarred scales gleaming in the bright light. The other 6 hunters formed a circle around the area that would serve as the hunting ground. Their yellow eyes tracked every movement with predatory focus. The rules are ancient and sacred, Vexmore announced to both his pack and the human team. The hunt takes place in the crystal maze beyond the great stones. 2 hunters enter, only 1 emerges. The survivor claims victory for their entire pack. Hien looked toward the area. Vexmore indicated it was a natural formation of crystal pillars and rock formations that created a maze-like environment. The crystals were tall enough to provide cover, and the ground was uneven with many places to hide or set traps. You may choose weapons from the sacred collection, Dexmore said, gesturing to a pile of crude spears, knives and clubs made from bone and stone. These have been used in Valkyrie hunts for thousands of years. Hayan examined the weapons carefully. They were primitive but effective. Each one showed signs of use, and some still had dark stains that might have been blood from previous hunts. He selected a medium-length spear with a sharp stone point and tested its weight and balance. Dexmer chose a pair of curved knives with handles made from polished bone. The alien leader moved the weapons through the air in practice strikes, and his movements were so fast they created small whistling sounds. The Valkyrie had clearly been training with these weapons since childhood. The hunt begins when both hunters enter the maze, Dexmore explained. The first to draw blood gains advantage. The first to land a killing blow wins the contest and claims the territory. He nodded his understanding, but inside his mind was working on a different level. He was not just preparing to fight, he was preparing to learn. Everything about this hunt would teach him valuable information about Valkyrie behavior, biology, and combat techniques. The 2 hunters approached the entrance to the crystal maze. The Valkyrie pack began making low rumbling sounds that seemed to be some kind of ceremonial chant. Hyun's team watched in tense silence as their captain walked toward what might be his death inside the maze. The crystal formations created a strange acoustic environment. Sounds echoed and bounced in unexpected directions, making it difficult to track movement by hearing alone. The red sunlight filtered through the crystals, creating patterns of light and shadow that shifted constantly. Hayan moved carefully through the maze, keeping his spear ready but not in an aggressive position. He wanted Dexmore to think he was nervous and inexperienced. The truth was that Hayan had extensive military training and had fought in several conflicts during his career, but the Valkyrie did not need to know. Dexmore stalked through the maze with the confidence of a natural predator. His movements were silent and fluid as he used the crystal formations for cover. The alien hunter was clearly in his element and enjoying the thrill of the hunt. The first encounter came when Hyun deliberately made noise while moving around a large crystal pillar. He wanted to draw Vexmore into an attack so he could study the alien's fighting style and physical capability. Peered from behind a crystal formation, moving with incredible speed. His curved knives flashed in the filtered sunlight as he launched himself at Hyun. The attack was precise and deadly, aimed at vital organs. Hyun reacted just slowly enough to make the encounter look realistic while still avoiding the killing blow. Vexmore's right knife caught him across the shoulder, cutting through his uniform and into the flesh beneath. The wound was not deep, but it drew blood and filled the air with the metallic scent that predators found exciting. The Valkyrie pack outside the maze roared with approval when they smelled human blood. Their ceremonial chanting grew louder and more intense as they celebrated what they thought was the beginning of their leaders. Victor Rithixmer stepped back after landing the first blow and examined the green liquid on his knife blade. This was venom from glands near his claws that would normally paralyze prey within minutes. The alien hunter expected Hyun to collapse soon from the poisonous effects, but Hyun had been studying the Valkyrie biology through his team's research and had taken precautions. The small medical kit contained a general antidote that worked against most biological toxins. He had injected himself with the antidote before the hunt began. Instead of collapsing, Hyun stumbled slightly and put his hand to his wounded shoulder. He made his breathing sound labored and his movements appear weaker than they actually were. The performance was convincing enough that Vexmore relaxed slightly and began to enjoy what he thought was an easy victory. "You fight like prey," the alien hunter taunted as he circled around Hyun. "Your blood smells of fear and your movements show no killing instinct. Soon you will feed my pack and your territory will belong to the Valkyrie." Hyun continued his act of growing weakness while his mind catalogued everything he observed about Vexmore. The alien favored his right side when attacking, which suggested an old injury to his left shoulder. His venom delivery system required direct contact with blood to be effective. His fighting style relied on speed and multiple quick strikes rather than powerful single attacks. Most importantly, Hyun noticed that Vexmore had a blind spot directly above his head. The alien's neck structure prevented him from looking straight up without turning his entire body. This was a critical weakness that could be exploited at the right moment. The hunt continued with Vexmore growing more confident and aggressive. He landed several more minor wounds on Hyun, each time expecting the human to finally succumb to the accumulated venom and blood. Whilst outside the maze, the Valkyrie pack was celebrating what they saw as their leader's inevitable victory. They had never seen a prey species last this long against Vexmore, but they assumed it was just prolonging the entertainment. Dear Kim Nari watched the hunt through binoculars and noticed something strange about her captain's behavior. He was not fighting like someone who was dying from poison. Instead, his movements seemed calculated and purposeful, as if he was studying his opponent rather than trying to survive. Hyun allowed Vexmore to wound him several more times while he gathered crucial information about Valkyrie anatomy, combat techniques, and behavioral patterns. Each wound taught him something new about how these aliens fought and what weaknesses they might have. The alien hunter was so focused on his seemingly easy victory that he failed to notice the intelligence behind Hyun's eyes or the way the human was analyzing every aspect of their encounter. "Thank you," Hyun said quietly as Vexmore prepared for what the alien thought would be the final killing strike. "Now I understand exactly what you are." The moment Hyun spoke those words, everything changed in the crystal maze. Vexmore had been moving in for what he thought would be the killing blow. When he saw something in the human's eyes that made him freeze, the look was not one of fear or pain, but of cold calculation, like a predator that had finished studying its prey. Hyun moved with sudden explosive speed that caught the Valkyrie leader completely off guard. Instead of the clumsy, wounded movements Vexmore expected, the human flowed like water around the alien's attack. The spear in Hyun's hands became an extension of his body as he used it to redirect Vexmore's momentum and send the alien crashing into a crystal formation. The sound of Vexmore's body hitting the crystal echoed through the maze and reached the ears of his pack outside. They stopped their celebratory chanting and listened with growing confusion. Something had changed in the rhythm of the hunt. "You favor your right side because of an old injury to your left shoulder," Hyun said calmly as he circled around the stunned alien. "Your venom requires direct blood contact to work, and your species has a blind spot directly above your head." Vexmore scrambled to his feet, his yellow eyes wide with shock. How could this soft prey creature know such things about Valkyrie anatomy? The human had been acting weak and wounded, but now moved with the deadly precision of a trained killer. "Your fighting style relies on speed and multiple quick strikes," Hyun continued as he used the crystal formations to his advantage. "You expect your opponents to panic and make mistakes, but humans are different. We learn from every encounter." The alien leader launched himself at Hyun again, but this time the human was ready. He had studied Vexmore's attack patterns during their earlier exchanges and knew exactly how the alien would move. Hyun stepped aside at the last second and used his spear to trip the charging Valkyrie. Vexmore hit the ground hard and rolled to avoid Hyun's follow-up attack. The alien was beginning to understand that he had been deceived. This human had never been weak or afraid. He had been gathering information while appearing to be defeated. A pack outside could hear the sounds of combat changing the rhythm What's different now with longer pauses between impacts and the sound of someone moving with tactical precision rather than desperate survival instincts? You have been hunting prey animals for so long that you forgot what it means to face a real predator, Haon said as he pressed his attack. He used the environment to his advantage, bouncing sounds off crystal walls to confuse Dexmore and using the shifting light patterns to mask his movements. The alien leader tried to use his superior speed and strength, but Haon countered every advantage with human ingenuity when Dexmore climbed up crystal formations to attack from above. Haon was ready with improvised traps made from loose stones when the alien tried to use his claws for close combat. Haon kept him at spear length and used the weapon to reach advantage. Your species evolved to hunt animals that follow predictable patterns, Haon explained as he landed a solid hit on Dexmore's wounded shoulder. But humans evolved to hunt other humans. We developed warfare tactics, psychological combat, and the ability to adapt to any situation. Dexmore was breathing heavily now, and his movements were becoming less coordinated. The alien had never faced an opponent who could match his intelligence while also adapting to his fighting style in real time. Outside the maze, the Valkyrie pack was growing restless. They could smell their leader's blood mixing with the humans in the air, and the sounds of combat suggested that Dexmore was no longer dominating the fight. Dr. Kimnari watched through her binoculars as strange lights and shadows moved within the crystal maze. She could not see the actual combat, but something about the way the patterns moved told her that Captain Hyun was no longer playing defense. Hyun pressed his advantage by using psychological warfare along with physical combat. Every time he landed a hit, he explained exactly how he had predicted Dexmore's move. This mental pressure was something the Valkyrie had never experienced before. You are used to hunting creatures that run away in fear, Haon said as he dodged another desperate attack. But humans run toward danger when we need to protect our pack. Your hunting instincts are being used against youth, alien leader realized. He was losing the fight and tried to retreat deeper into the maze, but Haon had been herding him toward a specific area where the crystal formations created a natural trap. Your pack is watching and learning, Haon called out loudly enough for the other Valkyrie to hear. They are discovering that humans are not prey animals but apex predators who study every species we encounter. Dexmore found himself cornered between tall crystal walls with only one exit that Hyun controlled. The human had maneuvered him into this position through careful tactical movement while making it seem like random chance. The sounds from the maze had changed so dramatically that even Dr. Ocean could tell something fundamental had shifted in the hunt. The initial sounds of a predator toying with prey had become the methodical sounds of a professional eliminating a target. Too wanted to teach your pack about human weakness, Hyun said as he approached the cornered alien leader. Instead, you are teaching them about human strength. Every wound you gave me provided information about your biology. Every attack you made revealed your combat patterns. Dexmore made one final desperate charge, but Hyun was ready. The human used the alien's own momentum against him and delivered a precise strike that sent the Valkyrie leader crashing to the ground. The spear point stopped just short of Dexmore's throat. The maze fell silent, except for the heavy breathing of both fighters. Haon stood over the defeated alien leader with his weapon ready, but not delivering the killing blow. Your pack expected you to return with human flesh as a trophy, Hyun said quietly. Instead, you will return with knowledge about what happens when predators underestimate their prey. The other Valkyrie outside the maze had stopped making any sounds. They could sense that their leader had been defeated, but they did not understand how such a thing was possible. Looked up at the human standing over him and saw something in eyes that he had never seen before. It was not the look of a prey animal that had gotten lucky. It was the look of a predator who had been in complete control from the very beginning. You were never wounded, the alien leader whispered as understanding dawned. You were never afraid. You were studying. Usian nodded and extended his hand to help Dexmore stand. The gesture confused the alien, who had expected either death or humiliation. Humans have encountered many predator species across the galaxy, Haon explained. Each one taught us something new about survival and combat. Your people will join that education whether you choose to or not. The defeated Valkyrie leader accepted Haon's help and got to his feet. His pack would be waiting for an explanation of how their greatest hunter had been beaten by what they thought was a weak prey creature. Now your real education begins, Haon said as they walked toward the maze exit together. We will teach your pack what it means to underestimate humans. The silence that greeted Haon and Dexmore as they emerged from the crystal maze was heavier than the planet's thick atmosphere. The 6 remaining Valkyrie hunters stood frozen in disbelief as they saw their pack leader walking beside the human they had expected to see torn apart, and Deverett Thixmer's scales were dulled with exhaustion and several fresh wounds marked his body, but he was alive and walking under his own power. More shocking still was the fact that the human showed no signs of the killing frenzy that should have followed victory in ritual combat. The youngest of the Valkyrie hunters, a female named Kess, stepped forward with confusion written across her reptilian features. Pack leader, what has happened? Why does the small flesh creature still live? Thixmer looked at his pack members and then at the human research team that had been watching the hunt with growing amazement. He struggled to find words that could explain what had just occurred in the maze's creature is not what we believed. he said slowly. His voice carried a tone that none of his pack had ever heard before. It was respect mixed with something that might have been feared. Kimnari approached her captain with medical supplies ready to treat his wounds, but stopped when she saw the look in his eyes. Hyun appeared completely calm and in control, as if the life or death combat had been nothing more than a training exercise. "Captain, are you injured?" she asked while examining the cuts on his arms and shoulder. "Nothing serious," he replied while keeping his attention focused on the Valkyrie pack. The wounds served their purpose. Park Jun and Dr. Ocean joined the group and began recording everything. The cultural implications of what had just happened would reshape humanity's understanding of how to interact with predator species. The largest of the remaining Valkyrie hunters, a male covered in battle scars, stepped forward. Aggressively, pack leader, "This makes no sense. How can prey defeat predator? The natural order demands that strength conquers weakness." Honan turned to face the questioning hunter and spoke directly to him. "Your pack leader discovered that humans represent something your species has never encountered before. We are predators who evolved by hunting other predators." The scarred hunter bared his teeth in what might have been a threat display. "That is impossible. No species can survive by hunting those stronger than them." Sylvestixmer raised his hand to silence his pack member and turned to address all of them. "This human speaks truth. I felt his strength during our combat. He was never wounded by accident. He was never afraid. He was learning about us while we thought we were killing him." Dro Sion stepped forward with her recording equipment active and addressed the Valkyrie pack. "Captain, Hyun represents something called human adaptability. We survived on our planet by learning to hunt everything that tried to hunt us." The youngest hunter, Kes, tilted her head in confusion like a predator trying to understand unfamiliar prey behavior. "How can small, weak creatures hunt the great predators of a world?" Hyun walked closer to the Valkyrie pack, and they instinctively moved into defensive positions, even though their leaders showed no signs of alarm. "Humans are persistent hunters," he explained. "We do not rely on speed or strength or venom like your species. Instead, we study our targets until we understand everything about them. Then we use that knowledge to turn their own advantages against them." The scarred hunter made a dismissive sound that sounds like the strategy of scavengers. "Not true." "Predators." Captain Hayon smiled, and the expression somehow made the massive alien take a step backward. "Your pack leader learned during our fight that I had already neutralized his venom before the hunt began. I knew about his blind spots, his injury patterns, and his preferred attack methods. I gathered this information by letting him wound me while I studied his techniques." The Valkyrie pack exchanged glances as they began to understand the implications of what they were hearing. Their greatest warrior had been systematically analyzed and defeated by a creature they had dismissed as easy prey. Addressed his pack members directly. "The human allowed me to believe I was winning while he gathered intelligence about our entire species. Everything we did gave him more information to use against USDR." Kimnari realized this was a teaching moment that could prevent future conflicts between humans and alien predator species. "Captain Hayoon has studied 17 different predator species across multiple worlds," she announced. "Each encounter taught humanity new survival techniques and combat methods." The revelation hit the Valkyrie pack like a physical blow. Their proud hunting culture was based on the belief that they were apex predators who sat at the top of the food chain. The idea that another species could systematically study and defeat them challenged everything they believed about the natural order. "But we are the greatest hunters in this sector of the galaxy," protested another pack member. "Our ancestors conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved countless prey species." Park Jun stepped forward with data recordings from their months of planetary observation. "We have been monitoring your hunting activities since we arrived. Your techniques are impressive against creatures that follow instinctual behavior patterns, but you have never encountered a species that can analyze your methods and develop countermeasures in real time." The Valkyrie hunters looked at each other as doubt crept into their predatory confidence. For the first time in their lives, they were facing the possibility that they might not be the ultimate hunters they believed themselves to be. Hyun decided it was time to reveal the full scope of human capabilities across the galaxy. "Humanity has encountered the Void Stalkers of Kepler 180s, who can become invisible and strike without warning. We learned to detect them using sound triangulation and thermal imaging." The Valkyrie pack listened with growing amazement as Hyun continued his list. "We fought the Ravagers of Proxima Centauri, who could tear through metal with their bare claws. We defeated them by using their own aggression to lead them into prepared killing zones." Dr. Ocean added to the revelation by sharing cultural data. "The crystalline hunters of Wolf 359 had perfect camouflage and could mimic any environment. Humans learned to identify them by studying their behavioral patterns rather than trying to see them." Each example hit the Valkyrie pack like hammer blows to their pride and confidence. They were beginning to understand that humans represented something completely outside their experience. "Your species has been the apex predator on this world for so long that you forgot what it means to be hunted," Hayan said, addressing the entire pack. "But every predator becomes prey when it encounters something higher on the food chain." Thex looked at his pack and saw the same realization in their eyes that he had experienced in the crystal maze. They were no longer the ultimate hunters they had believed themselves Tibeti human speaks wisdom, the pack leader said slowly. We have lived as kings of this world for countless generations, but kings can be overthrown by those who understand their weaknesses better than they understand themselves. A scarred hunter, who had been most aggressive earlier, now stood with his head lowered in what might have been a gesture of submission or deep thought. What do you want from us? He asked quietly. If you can defeat us, why do you not simply take our territory and leave us to die? Hyan walked closer to the questioning hunter, and the alien did not retreat because humans learned long ago that the best way to survive in a dangerous galaxy is to turn enemies into allies. We do not want to destroy your pack, we want to learn from you just as we want you to learn from Usta. Concept of cooperation between predator species was so foreign to Valkyrie, thinking that several pack members made sounds of confusion. Dark Kimnari stepped forward to help explain the human perspective. Your hunting techniques and knowledge of this planet's ecosystem could teach us valuable survival skills. In return, we can share human technologies and strategies that will make your pack stronger than ever before. The Valkyrie pack stood in stunned silence as they processed this unprecedented offer. No species had ever offered to share power with them instead of simply submitting to their dominance. The youngest hunter, Kess, was the first to speak. You would make us your equals instead of your prey. Hyan nodded. The galaxy is full of dangers that none of us have encountered yet. Working together, we all have a better chance of survival. Thexma looked at his pack and then at the human research team that had just revolutionized everything that Valkyrie thought they knew about predator and prey relationships. Perhaps it is time for the Valkyrie to learn new ways of hunting. 3 days had passed since the ritual hunt, and the atmosphere around the human research camp had completely transformed. The Valkyrie pack had set up their own temporary shelter nearby, and what had begun as a tense standoff between predator and prey had evolved into something unprecedented in galactic history. Captain Lee Hyun sat beside Dexmore on a ridge overlooking the Crystal Valley while both species worked together to establish communication protocols and share survival knowledge. The former enemies now functioned as partners in an alliance that would reshape how humanity approached contact with predator species. Your pack learns quickly, Hayon observed as he watched Kess and Dr. Kimnari working together to catalog the medicinal properties of local crystal formations. The young Valkyrie hunter had proven to have an excellent understanding of planetary biology. Thexma made a sound that Hyun had learned was equivalent to laughter among his species. As do your people, Dr. O. Sion has already mastered 3 different Valkyrie hunting calls. An engineer. Park has improved our weapon designs using human engineering principles. The integration between the two groups had been surprisingly smooth once the Valkyrie accepted that humans were not prey animals but fellow predators worthy of respect. The cultural exchange had proven beneficial to both species. Dro Sion approached the two leaders with her recording equipment and a collection of notes she had compiled. Over the past few days, Captain, I have been documenting the Valkyrie social structure, and I believe we have discovered something remarkable about predator species evolution. Shay activated her holographic display and showed detailed analyses of Valkyrie behavior patterns compared to other predator species humanity had encountered. The Valkyrie represent the most advanced predator society we have met so far. Their pack structure includes elements of democracy, military hierarchy, and merit-based leadership that could serve as a model for other species. Smur examined the human technology with the same curiosity his people had once reserved for studying prey animals. Your devices capture and store knowledge in ways that could revolutionize how pass information between generations. The pack leader had been particularly impressed with human record-keeping and data analysis capabilities. The Valkyrie had relied on oral tradition and instinctual knowledge, but human technology offered ways to preserve and share information that could benefit the entire species. Park June joined the group carrying a modified Valkyrie weapon that incorporated human engineering improvements. The new spear design increases accuracy by 30% and the modified grip reduces fatigue during extended hunts, he reported. The Valkyrie craftsmanship combined with human tool design principles creates superior hunting equipment. Dr. Kimnari emerged from the research tent with test results from her analysis of Valkyrie biology. Captain, we have made breakthrough discoveries about the venom glands and regenerative capabilities of the Valkyrie species. This information could lead to medical advances that benefit both our peoples. The scientific cooperation had proven even more valuable than the military alliance. Both species possessed knowledge and capabilities that complemented each other in unexpected ways. The scarred hunter, who had initially been most resistant to human contact, approached the group with something that might have been excitement in his body language. Pack leader, the small flesh creatures have shown me tracking techniques that work on prey I thought was impossible to hunt. Their persistence hunting methods combined with our speed and strength create hunting success rates we have never achieved before. Hyan smiled at being called a small flesh creature. The term had evolved from an insult to something approaching affection as the Valkyrie learned to appreciate human capabilities. The youngest pack member, Kess, bounded over to the group with the enthusiasm of someone who had discovered an entirely new way of understanding the world. Captain, Junior, Dr. Ocean has taught me about something called scientific method. It is like hunting, but instead of tracking prey, we track knowledge and understanding. That cultural exchange had been particularly successful with the younger members of both groups, who adapted quickly to new concepts and ways of thinking. Stood and addressed both groups as they gathered around the ridge 3 days ago. We believed humans were weak prey creatures who had wandered into our territory by accident. Today, we understand that we encountered the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. The Valkyrie pack made sounds of agreement while the human team listened with attention. But humans taught us something more important than their hunting skills. Dexmore continued. They showed us that true strength comes from turning enemies into allies, and that the greatest predators are those who can adapt to any situation. Sion activated her recording equipment to capture what she sensed would be a historically significant moment. Captain Hyun has told us about the many predator species humanity has encountered across the galaxy. Each contact resulted in either alliance or the complete defeat of the hostile species. Hyun nodded and addressed both groups. The galaxy is vast and full of dangers that none of us have faced yet. The crystalline hunters, the void stalkers, the ravagers, and now the Valkyrie. Each species has taught humanity new lessons about survival and adaptation. He gestured toward the mixed group of humans and aliens working together around the camp. But the Valkyrie are the first predator species to choose alliance over conflict from the beginning. Your pack will help us understand how to approach other dangerous species with cooperation instead of conquest. Exma made a formal gesture that Dr. Ocean recognized as a Valkyrie ritual of permanent alliance. The Valkyrie pack accepts the humans as hunting partners and territorial allies. We will share our knowledge of this sector's predator species and assist in establishing contact protocols with dangerous species. The agreement represented more than just cooperation between two groups. It established a template for how humanity could expand across the galaxy by turning potential enemies into valuable allies. Kimnari stepped forward with a proposal that would formalize their cooperation. We should establish a permanent research station here on Kepler 442b. The combined knowledge of human technology and Valkyrie biology could create advances that benefit both species. June added his engineering perspective. A joint facility would let us develop new technologies and weapons, while the Valkyrie could learn human manufacturing and preservation techniques. The concept of a permanent alliance was revolutionary for the Valkyrie, who had never considered long-term cooperation with other species. Kess approached Captain Hayen with something resembling shyness. Will humans teach Valkyrie about the stars beyond our world? We want to learn about the other predator species you have encountered. Hayen looked at the young alien and saw the same curiosity and desire for knowledge that drove human exploration. The galaxy has room for many apex predators, he replied, especially when they work together instead of fighting each other. As the red sun of Kepler 442b began to set, the combined group of humans and Valkyrie worked together to prepare camp for the night. The sight of two predator species cooperating would have been impossible just days earlier. Sixma addressed Captain Hyun privately as they watched their people working together. Your species took the first predator's bite not to show weakness but to demonstrate strength. The galaxy will learn what happens when they underestimate humans. Hyun nodded as he considered the implications of their alliance, and they will learn what happens when humanity turns enemies into friends. The greatest predators are those who can adapt to any situation, including turning conflict into cooperation. The stars emerged in the alien sky as both species settled in for the night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and discoveries, but they would face them together as allies rather than enemies. The Valkyrie had learned that humans were apex predators who used intelligence and adaptability to survive in a dangerous galaxy, and humanity had learned that even the most dangerous predator species could become valuable allies when approached with the right combination of strength, respect, and cooperation. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when two apex predator species decided to work together instead of fighting each other.